You're listening to the ProgAxia podcast.
Hi everybody, it's Andy here, Andy Phillips, and I've got Paul Goodge with me. Hi Paul.
Hi, afternoon.
Just mentioned before we started this podcast, I'm a bit nervous about this one. I don't know why. We're going to do live albums. We're going to do the best progressive rock live albums. And this is, again, we've got to put this caveat in that it's subjective. This is our choices. This is the ones that, sort of mean the most to us as we grew up, I guess. And so we're going to do 10 to 1. If we choose the same one in different positions, we'll just talk about them then. But
it's worth saying we don't know what each other's top 10 is. So whenever we've done
this is the great thing.
I've no idea what you're going to come up with. I can guess one or two, but I have no idea what and vice versa.
Yes, yeah. Well, we did it on purpose to sort of, because we discussed this before the podcast. Should we tell each other our top 10s? But it was like, no, it makes it more exciting if we don't. So, right, let's go. Let's start off this thing. Do you want to start with your number 10?
Before I do, I've got to say that, you said you're a bit nervous, and here we are having a live recording about live recordings.
Yes.
But I found when I started thinking about this, and I started thinking of great live albums, and I started thinking about Live and Dangerous by Thin Lizzy, or If You Want Blood, You've Got It, by AC/DC, or Live at Leeds, or Hull by The Who. And then I started thinking of the Unplugged series, and then I started thinking of the Woodstock triple live. And it occurred to me, I don't know if it's the same for you, but when I think of great live albums, the percentage of non-prog ones is higher than if it was just great albums of all time.
Yeah.
My top 50 albums, full stop, would have a much higher percentage of prog ones in than the top live ones, which I found quite curious. And I was just sort of thinking, why is that? And there's something about the energy. You think no Sleep to Hammersmith, that's got a bit of energy to it, hasn't it? And also the versions perhaps can be slightly different, whereas I think with prog musicians, quite often they're relatively faithful, I think, to the studio version, not always. So I found that quite curious when I was thinking about that it was a lower percentage when I was just running through my mental checklist. I don't know if it's the same for you.
Well, I think I've mentioned in the past that the when I was a kid, I was just going to these gigs. I didn't really see prog bands specifically. We went to see rock bands, and we could have seen Motorhead, Thin Lizzy, Pink Floyd, Rush. Literally in the same week. So it's very difficult because I've also got a bunch of live albums down by my side, which are things like Thin Lizzy live and stuff like that, which is just blew me away when I was a kid. I mean, absolutely brilliant albums. But we wanted to try and sort of do the programs. I think what we can do on this channel though is we'll do our favorite lives. Maybe top 5 favorite live albums of all time. Because there will be some classic rock albums in that. But we wanted to sort of stick it to the prog albums, and I had to sort of keep some albums that I absolutely love, live albums, just out of this top 10 list because they're not prog. And there's a few that I've got that probably scrape prog in this. But anyway, I think that's let's just start through these.
Okay.
Number 10 for you.
Yeah, so the 2 rules I gave myself was, one, I actually have to be able to hand up some sort of CD or album. I can't say this is a great album and I haven't got it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yes.
And I gave myself permission to perhaps have more than one by the same band if I just happen to think it's great. Anyway, my first one, can you guess? It's a Marillion one.
Okay, right.
Coming in at number 10. I don't know if you got this one. Hold it up to the camera. There we go. Early stages, the official bootlegs of 82 to 87. It's a 5 CD set. Very good value for money. Because I was really getting into Marillion about this time. I was up at Leicester and saw them a bunch of times. And these these have got so much energy to them. They really do. Absolutely fantastic. Fish is in great form throughout. And you can see and hear the band sort of evolving and developing and getting more confident. If you like Garden Party, well, good for you, because it's on every single one of the CDs. The Great Cucumber Massacre. And yeah, but they got Grendel, including the last time they played it, which was Reading, which I think Andy Camel was on the drums for that, wasn't he? The Andy Ward from Camel was on that. But anyway, yeah, and they've got the Marquee, they got Hammersmith Odeon, they got Glasgow, they do Margaret, which I'm not so keen on. But anyway, yeah. So this for me, is when I just got such fond memories of seeing them live. And the quality is generally pretty good. Sometimes Rothery's guitar is a bit down in the mix, but this for me, there you go. That was my number 10, Marillion.
It's a great choice as well, because for me, Marillion were 1981, 1982. We used to go and see them all the time. I mean, down the Marquee and things like that. We were seeing them all the time. I think I've said before on the podcast, I've seen them in things like Scout Huts and ridiculous little places and stuff like that. When they were first starting off, and I think they were sort of like a way of seeing something like an old Genesis, which I missed. I missed the Peter Gabriel Genesis era, and it was sort of like plugging that gap for me in my psyche. But they were brilliant live. I mean, they were fantastic live at that point. I mean, I've not seen them recently, but I used to go and see them all the time. And we was with bands like IQ and Palace and Solstice was, that was my favorite, going to see Marillion with Solstice support. It was just like, the best. Just fantastic live band at the time. And really sort of, strangely punky in some way. They just like it wasn't like just your basic prog. It was guttural and visceral, and it was it was sweaty, especially at the Marquee. I mean, the Marquee has always been a sweaty pit. But when Marillion were there, it was just full of people who absolutely loved the band, and they were great at the time. The Web and all those sort of things. Just some of these 3 Boats Down from the Candy, and I loved all that. Absolutely loved all that. It's a great choice, actually.
Well, you may have been at this particular Marquee gig. It's the 30th of December, 82.
Probably was.
Two CDs worth, so it's 105 minutes. Just doing a quick bit of mathematics. And if you look at the track listing, set listing for it, basically is all they had at the time, I guess, because it's all of Script, the first album with the Market Square Heroes EP.
Yeah,
and that's it. So I guess they gave you all they had if you were there. And it was a bit punky, and Forgotten Sons, that wasn't subtle, was it? That wasn't talking about Father Tiresias or the Fountain of Salmacis,
No, that was a pretty visceral sort of song.
And He Knows really directly about drug experience and stuff. So as 82, so I was 18 years old. So this spoke to me, man. So there you go, my number 10.
That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I remember watching when we watched Forgotten Sons, and with he had this helmet on, and he used the mic stand as a gun and all that sort of thing. And it was absolutely brilliant show. Absolutely brilliant show. So fantastic number 10. All right, let me do my number 10. A little bit more sort of reserved. 2 for the show.
Yes.
2 for the show by Kansas.
Absolutely.
I've got to tell you, this it was difficult choosing all these and where to put them and things like that, because at the time when I bought this, it was right at the beginning of listening to Kansas. So I think it came a little bit late on the scene with Kansas, but one of the things about Kansas that I absolutely loved was when I got this album, and I got this at the same as Point of No Return and things like that. But when I got this album, I listened to this more than any studio album. This, for me, was just awesome. You've got so much in this that it's just like the greatest hits up to that point. You know, it was recorded on sort of 77, 78, and he actually used the Robert Plant mobile, you know.
Right.
But, you know, A Song for America, Point of No Return, Paradox, which I love, Portrait He Knew, which I think was, you know, it had Carry On Wayward Son and Journey from Mary Brom and all those sort of things. But a big sort of double album that, and with some great stuff, you know, great photos on this as well. I'm going to fucking hold this up.
Yep. Because that was still the original lineup, wasn't it? I haven't played that in ages. Is it still the original lineup? It's relatively early on, wasn't it? But yeah,
it was very, very early on. But the quality of it is just absolutely superb, you know, and the musicianship is superb. The weird thing I did when I started putting all these things together, just put that up there. You know, if you're watching on the YouTube channel rather than the audio version of this, I'm just sort of showing a few of the inner sleeve graphics of this, because it's a great album, really sort of well put together. But when I looked at some of the critiques of this album, what you get is a lot of people talking about the quality isn't as good as studio, and you know, musicianship is fantastic, but you know, they compare it to studio albums. I'm sort of thinking, you're not really understanding what a live album actually is. Most live albums aren't particularly well recorded. Some of them are astounding, but most live albums aren't particularly well recorded. But this is absolutely brilliant recorded. It's got so much atmosphere in there that it just, you feel like you're there. You know. So yeah, I love that Kansas album.
So here's the thing: how much does it bother us if the live recording has been touched up? You know, studio overdubs later on. No, I mentioned sorry,
not one jot. I don't care. I really don't care. You know, I mean, I've had this conversation with lots of people about, you know, so many great albums. You know, if we're talking about Thin Lizzy,
yeah, exactly.
But, you know, Thin Lizzy's live album, Judas Priest's live album, you know, they all had overdubs, and some of these have had overdubs. I know that some of the albums that I've got in my top 10 have had some overdubs. But why put out a piece of work that is, you know, if you're not quite on your game on every single night of a tour, and you just happen to be recording that night? You know, I mean, it's great to have to be able to say, you know, no overdubs. And I know there's a few albums that do that. No overdubs.
Yeah,
they're lying.
Well, maybe not all of them are, but it doesn't bother me.
No, some of them are very raw, but you know.
Yeah, and yeah, I've never spent time researching. I mean, there was that. No, if we go back to Live and Dangerous by Lizzy, you know, for a long time there was there wasn't any, but Visconti's been I think open about there was. But so what? I mean, is it representative of what they would typically like on a typical night? Yes. Does it sound great music? Yes. Well, I mean, that's kind of almost the end of it for me, you know.
But this is it. So my attitude is that, you know, I want an album that represents what I remember of that gig. You know, what I remember of going, you know, and the feeling I had, and does it sort of give me that feeling back? Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. Because I saw Kansas live a couple of times, but actually saw them in America when I was working in America, and they were just fabulous live. I mean, absolutely fabulous. And this album sort of represents what that sort of show was like. Yeah, it's a bit later on, but that just absolutely superb. So yes, I don't really care too much whether the album's been touched up a little bit, you know, as long as it sort of gives me the energy that I had, you know, put the needle on a record and it just like takes you back to, you know, 1976 or 1979 or something like that, you know, and what that band actually meant to you.
Yeah, we're not talking Milli Vanilli here, are we?
No.
So do you want to go for your number 9 as well? Should we do it that way? And then I'll do my 9 and 8.
Yeah, I'll do my number 9. Okay, number 9, and you might be surprised where this sits in this, but
go on, just name the band. Name the band, see if I can guess. Go on.
Name the band. You're going to know what album it is if I name the band. It's Rush.
Well, yes. They've got a few. My number 9's a Rush album as well. This could be spooky. I've got that slightly higher up the list for me.
Right. Well, see, what I did, I thought when we do these, that if I don't really want two albums of the same band in, so we've had slightly different. So we just should have done
Yeah.
a rule sheet or something like this. But now this is my number 9, which was Exit Stage Left by Rush. Very difficult to put it in number 9 because, as I say, any other day I could have put it in number 6 or number 5. You know, this album for me, when it came out, was my Rush. This is the Rush that I went to see on a regular basis. The tracks on this, you know, My Way Z, The Trees, Xanadu, you know, just this was my Rush. La Villa Strangiato. This was the band that I used to go and watch. And again, this is such a memorable album. I remember buying it back in the day, just thinking to myself, this is just the best live album I've ever heard. If I never hear anything else again, but it was sort of after Moving Pictures album, and Moving Pictures isn't my favourite of the sort of the progressive rock era of Rush. It's a great album. I love Moving Pictures, but out of all of them, you know, I prefer sort of Permanent Waves and Hemispheres and Farewell to Kings and things like that. But this was like the culmination of their progressive rock era, I guess. Because the stuff that came after this left me a little colder. There was still really good, some great Rush albums after this, but that era of albums, I think, culminating in this album, this live album, which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, the bass is really loud in this, which I really like as well. But this was the album that sort of encapsulated that era of Rush that I lived and breathed in, which is why I had to have it in my top 10. It is just absolutely essential.
I had to have it in my top 5. It came in at number 4 for me because
Okay, cool. Really good.
I was going to see them. I was enjoying it. And because Rush had that thing, didn't they, where they'd release sort of 4 studio albums and then a live album. So
yes.
All the World's a Stage came out after 2112. So yeah, they did that run of Farewell to Kings, which is probably my favorite, Hemispheres, Permanent Waves, Moving Pictures, and then they released this. And yeah, that was my, as you said, no, it was my Rush, you know, in every sense. And yeah, the bass, I think, sometimes drowns out a bit of Alex Lifeson's guitar work. The bass is quite up in the mix. But it doesn't matter, you know, because
that's live. You know, the mix isn't going to be perfect live.
Yeah,
it's the atmosphere that is so electric. You know, this for me was just, you know, you put it on and it takes you back to when you went and see them at Hammersmith Odeon. You know,
yeah, absolutely. And it starts with Spirit of Radio, doesn't it? And it's good. Yeah, definitely up there for me. And one of the things about Rush, of course, was they this rule, didn't they, in the studio of we're only going to lay down stuff in our studio albums which we believe we can recreate live, the 3 of us. So yeah, that meant Geddy had to learn how to do stuff with his feet and his fingers and his voice all at the same time.
And it was so impressive as well. I mean, I can remember going and watching it and just thinking to myself, these are just some of the most amazing musicians. And mainly because the you know what they actually played, and being a musician myself, I know I'm a drummer, but I do play guitar and I do play bass and I do play keyboards. You know, I mean, most musicians now do a few things, but I can just remember just sort of thinking to myself, it's a 3-piece, and the thing that I'm listening to is astounding for live. You know, just have these different sounds, you know, the way Neil Peart used to have things like tubular bells and glockenspiels and use them. You know, it wasn't just like for show. He had this fantastic, huge drum kit, but he used everything. I mean, just absolutely everything.
The Professor.
So yeah, that was my number 9. So what's your number 9?
Well, it's a different Rush live album, so you have to guess. One guess. What do you think it might be? You might be surprised.
Oh, I thought it was going to be this one.
No, it's this one.
Ah, yeah.
So so different stages. And the thing about this for me is because it's back to what we were just saying. So there's a bit of a duplication here because it's also got the 78 Hammersmith Odeon concert that I was at. So
Yeah.
so I was there. There's me in the audience going bonkers, and you can almost hear me playing air drums if you listen very carefully. I was there on that tour as I was in all of them back in that day. But the rest, so that's a great gig for that reason. But you look at the set list from the it's a 77 Test for Echo largely tour, and it's got it all. It's got all you want, Xanadu not on the first two CDs, but you got it on the third one, the 78 gig. 2112, they do a great version of it.
Actually, the version on this album of 2112 is really, really good. It is really, really good.
The mix is fantastic. Lyson does a really good job, and Discovery as part of 2112 does great. So you got some of the newer stuff, which, like you, I'm less keen on, but they do it really well. So for me, they're picking the best bits of those sort of like second or third era, whatever we want to call it, sort of Rush stuff. But they've got the old classics there as well. They've got the Trees, they've got Close to the Heart. Well, don't they always? As well as, and again, one of Neil Peart's amazing drum solos. One of the few people that really does make it interesting, one of the few drummers, apart from yourself, obviously, where people don't just go to the bar.
They go to the bar when I start doing it. I really don't do solos. I get really bored in drum solos, even though I'm a drummer.
So for that reason, and it's not the greatest artwork in the world. It's got something that looks like some macaroons or something on the front of it, but there's three of them because there always wasn't there? That was the thing with the Rush artwork around this time onwards. Three things, because there were three of them in the group, making a noise of six people. And the engineer on this, Paul Norfield, I actually had the honour of listening to in a little sort of like webinar thing recently, and he was telling the stories about how he's recording some of the albums and some of the tricks they would get up to, and it's fascinating, when people got that level of detail and that knowledge, and they were there in the room with these three maestri. So there you go. That's my other Rush live album, number 9.
I think the side that I used to play on that CD, because I've got that CD here, I haven't got it in here. But side 3 had things like Biter on the Snow Dog on it, and Xanadu and Farewell to Kings, and Cygnus X1, and the Working Man, Fly by Night, and Cinderella Man, and all that sort of thing.
That's it.
That was, again, it was because that was my time of Rush. I thought disc 3 was just the one I played in the car a lot. So fantastic choice again. Fantastic choice. So where are we now? So we're on 8. Do you want to do your 8 or do you want me to do mine?
I'll do mine number 8. And so the artist is Steve Hillage.
Nice.
So Live Herald.
Oh, yeah.
Cheated slightly because the fourth side, it's a double album. The fourth side is actually studio stuff. So I have cheated slightly, but we've talked about Gong, and we're both fans of Gong. Gong could sometimes just go a little bit too far for me and just a little bit too trippy, and sometimes I would lose a plot just slightly. So when Hillage started doing his solo stuff, Fish Rising and so on, that to me just grabbed me a bit more. And this has got some superb stuff on it. So if you like your Gong stuff but wish it was a bit rockier, a bit more, a bit less of some of the Journey into Outer Space, but still quite a bit of it there. Fantastic versions of Hurdy-Gurdy Man. I love the version also of It's All Too Much, Harrison song. But yeah, and it's still got that trippy vibe to it,
Light in the Sky's on there, isn't it?
Absolutely,
I love Light in the Sky. And didn't he have Clive Bunker on drums?
He did. So anyone not aware, Clive Bunker had just left Jethro Tull, hadn't he, at the time, and he was sort of doing bits and pieces.
Great drummer.
They got Light in the Sky, the Golden Vibe. They got the Salmon Song, the Dervish Riff. So if you don't know Steve Hillage, this is the album to get, I'd suggest, along with Fish Rising, the first solo album. And he went on to do other sort of weird and wonderful stuff. He experimented with some sort of just keyboard type stuff. Went off and did stuff with the orb, didn't he? And so on.
Yeah.
But this album, it's late 70s. So yeah, I mean, you know this one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Steve Hillage is one of those guitarists that it doesn't matter what band you put him in, it just makes it a better band.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
just anything he plays is, it's going to be it's going to be not only trippy and sort of psychedelic and things like that, but it's going to be really interesting. It's going to sort of make every track be cohesive because he plays these beautiful repetitive riffs, whatever he does. I mean, whatever band he's been in, he plays these lovely repetitive riffs. And at the end, just sort of starts going off on this sort of head trip in electric guitar, and it just sounds fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
But he keeps it together, so it never comes across as unstructured to me. It never comes across.
He knows what he's doing. He really does know what he's doing.
And I was lucky to see his sort of comeback gigs a couple of years ago, just before lockdown, when he had Gong essentially as his backing band. And Carver's Traby was a kid in the candy shop. He was just like grinning. I mean, normally is anyway, but just grinning on stage. It's like, I'm with Steve Hillage. And we're doing the glorious Om riff and so on.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, it's kind of like, how can you not like it? I mean, it's music that makes anyone happy, I think. Yeah.
You see, this is the thing about the stuff, like the Steve Hillage stuff. If you buy Steve Hillage album, you sort of basically know that you're not going to get, if you like that sort of stuff, you're not going to get massively challenged. It's going to, float through your cerebral pores in your head. It's going to just be absorbed, and you're just going to sort of just sit back, relax, and enjoy this bloody stuff because it's absolutely superb.
And unlike Gong, as I said earlier, Gong for me, sometimes I'm thinking, now would be a good time to break into a riff. Yeah. Hillage seems to me to know when to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, I think what the audience need now is, and he delivers it. So there.
Right, my number 8.
Yes. Name the band. Ah, right. Yes.
Now, I don't know if this is. I really don't know if this is an official release. I really don't know, but it's live at Pompeii, Pink Floyd. Yeah. And right from early days, I remember seeing the film in a cinema, and just thinking to myself, I'd love to do a gig like that. That would be absolutely fantastic. If my band at some point in my career, I could do a gig just like that. And I've actually, we was down in Devon and Cornwall in the summer, and there's a sort of a big mock Roman auditorium down there. I can't remember what it's called now. I will remember at some point. And when we got there and I was looking at it, I was thinking, get all the amps set up, get the camera crew in. That'd be fantastic. And it's all because of this film.
So, were you there showing off your suntan body with going topless and hitting a big gong? Is that what you were doing?
Those days are gone, mate, I'm afraid.
Okay. No,
this whole album, I just think is it's sort of mind blowing. The tracks that this is sort of just prior to doing Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah,
it was like the heyday of that sort of second incarnation of Floyd, and the doing echoes at the beginning and doing echo, part 2 at the end and things like that. I just thought it was absolutely amazing.
I'm trying to remember trying to remember the set list. Did they have set the controls for the Heart of the Sun on it as well?
Hold on a second. Yeah, definitely got that on it. Echoes, you got Saucer for the Secrets.
Yeah.
One of Those Days, set the controls for the Heart of the Sun. Echoes Part 2 and Part 1. Just absolutely mind-blowing music. And the weird thing is that the atmosphere on this is like almost like a live studio album, if you know what I mean. but it just there's something about the way they played those tracks. You know, I think it was if I'm I'm just thinking like set the controls of the heart of sun. You know, it's one of my favorite early Floyd tracks. As you know, with me, I mean, my Floyd is really that trilogy of albums with Animals and all that sort of thing. You know, but this era of the band was really, really influential to a huge amount of people. But Set Controls of the Heart Sun was just brilliant in this. You know, Echoes is brilliant in this. The atmosphere of them doing it in this auditorium, this open air
amphitheater.
That's the word I'm looking for. This open air amphitheater in the sun.
Didn't they have problems with the electricity supply? I think I've read somewhere that one, they had to run cables from a long distance to get it to, because we didn't normally have rock bands performing in the middle of this amphitheater.
Yeah, exactly.
They had some variable electricity supply, because this was back in the early 70s, wasn't it? And somebody kept on forgetting to put 50p in the meter or something, or the grid was playing up a bit.
You can imagine they had a lot of problems.
Absolutely, yeah. Because there is a DVD, wasn't there, the film? I'm trying to remember who the director was of it. It was Antonini or someone, I forget. But I don't have that one you've got there. I don't have that version of it.
As I say, I don't know whether this is like an official one, but I've had this for a long time. This used to sit in the car a lot.
Yeah.
And that's really the whole point of having CDs, because I've got CDs of all these albums.
Yeah.
Every album in my top 10 I've got a CD of as well. I mean, I've got a lot of them here sitting here. It's like, you buy an album and then you want to take it with you. You go and buy a bloody CD as well.
Yep.
Which used to piss me off, to be honest. I just wish we had one format, and that was a really cool format. But anyway, but one of those days is featured on this CD as well, because it was in the film.
Yeah.
And it's got this. One of those days, it's got this really beautiful, powerful. It's a powerful song. But and this in doing this live, it's better than the album. I think there's something about just the atmosphere of it and all that sort of thing. So, that was my number 8, live at Pompeii, Pink Floyd.
I think one of the reasons why this isn't meant to be too denigratory, but one of the reasons why it did inspire and encourage a lot of people is because now, if you listen to pick your favorite Gentle Giant or King Crimson album, you wouldn't necessarily think get a band together, I can do this. I think when you're hearing the Floyd play, then you thought, you know what, I can aspire to this. So
it sounds deceptively easy.
And as we know, there's genius in simplicity, because lots of people.
There's lots of bands that I played in, and we said, we could do like a bit Pink Floydy part in this, and you try it, and it's just it's not like Pink Floyd. It just sounds a bit dull.
Yeah.
So there is a skill to doing what they do that is just transcendent in some way. So, so what's your number 8?
Well, no, my number 8 was Hillage, because number 9 was different stages. I can do
we're on 7, are we? I get confused with all these.
Yeah, I've got a maths degree. I can do this. So my number 7, and I won't ask you to guess which one this is, because I'm a bit of a King Crimson fan. I've never mentioned that to you, have I? No. So this is a King Crimson, and King Crimson. Perhaps somewhat similar to what you just held up. They've got the sort of official bootleg type stuff, the official King Crimson Collector's Cup, ACDC. So this is a collectible King Crimson, of which there are many, and I've got many of them. And this happens to be the first one, Volume 1. This is 74. So it's 2 CDs, 2 concerts, one live in Mainz in Germany, and one Asbury Park over in the States. And this is to me the essential, quintessential Crimson lineup. So you got Fripp, of course, you got Wetton, you got Bruford, and you got David Cross. And what they're known for, so one of the reasons why I like these types of live albums is because of the improvisational nature. I mean, they had the talent, they had the ability, They had the desire to just try stuff out on stage and see if some sort of alchemy, some musical alchemy would happen. And quite often with this group, this lineup, it did. They have an almost telepathic ability to understand and know where they're going to be going next. And there's all sorts of great tracks from this era, but it's the improvs which really make it. Crimson fans are probably aware of 74, though King Crimson released a official live album at the time, which is very poorly recorded and very muddy. This is a much better version of it. But yeah, if you just want to hear top class musicianship and going places that you don't know where it's going to go, partly because they didn't know where it's going to go. So this is my number 7, the very first of the King Crimson Collectors Club sort of official bootlegs.
Because I got Night Watch, or the Night Watch somewhere.
Yep,
I got that on CD somewhere, and I thought that was really good. I actually like Fracture off that, so that was
well, Fracture. Yeah, I mean, whenever you hear Fracture performed live, certainly there's. I think it may be. I'm testing my own knowledge here. I think maybe Volume 4 it's got a live version of Fracture, which is amazing on it. Night Watch is a good sort of official bootleg as well.
Yeah, because I think it was. Is that a 2 CD set? Is it?
Yeah. All as far as I'm aware, well, certainly the vast majority certainly are. These collectors clubs are double CDs. Well worth the money. Here we are plugging DGM, but double. Some of his live things, the Frippatronic stuff that Robert Fripp does, which is a bit of loop, a bit of noodling really on synth and stuff, atmospheric type stuff. Sometimes for me there's a bit much on there, but this is much more about let's get a guitar and percussion and that, and let's strum things and hit things and occasionally sing things. So yeah, and the late great John Wetton.
Yeah. Well, it's a classic lineup on that. So the four that make up, I think, what probably the best King Crimson outfit.
I think so.
Or the one that I like the best.
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah, so there you go. That was my. No, I'm just looking at the set list again. They finish with 21st Century Schizoid Man.
Yeah,
I do actually have. It's not on my top 10. I do actually have. I think it's a double CD of nothing but versions of 21st Century Schizoid Man.
That's mental to have that. So was that your number 7?
That was my number 7. Yeah,
that's your number 7, right?
Yeah.
My number 7.
Ah, yes. This is one of my joint number 11s. It didn't quite make it onto my top 10. Yeah.
This was an album that I played continuously for probably 6 months.
Yeah.
After I bought it. It's Hawkwind live Space Ritual.
Yep.
And to be honest, I think it's on any other day I could have put this at number 1 in some ways. Like a lot of these albums that I've got in this little pile here, I could have put any of them at number 1 at any one time in my life. But probably about sort of 30 years ago, this would have been sitting right up there, either 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about this. I mean, again, it's one of those albums which I don't think, it's not recorded particularly brilliantly.
No.
A lot of those albums in them days just really didn't cut it on the recording. And we're talking about 1973 here.
I think so, yeah.
And so, again, recorded in, Liverpool and London, I think. But Space Ritual was just incredible. It's a double live album. But again, it's like all these things, you start opening this bloody thing up, and it opens up hugely. I mean, I had this on my wall at one time.
Well, you've got a picture of Stacia in there, haven't you?
Yes, there is. Very, very nice. But it's just incredible, and the when you I don't want to really. I'm gonna open it up. Let me just take the albums out. But when you open all this out to its full glory, I mean, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, you can just about see it on on the camera. Yeah.
It's just bloody huge. And I actually had a couple of these. So I found another copy because I scratched my original quite badly, and I've also got it on CD as well. But I scratched my original one, so I bought another one at like a boot fair or something like that. Yeah, I found it. I got it for £1, which was very nice. And I had one of them, my scratch copy. I took this up and I put it up on my wall as a poster. So that was one of the things that was on my wall when I was a kid as a poster. But I got lost in this, mate. I absolutely got completely and utterly lost in it. It's just classic Hawkwind at its best. Multi-layered sonic, a sonic attack on the system. It's just absolutely, and it's got all the things I loved about it. Like with with the Stacia stuff going on, but it's got things like Argon Accumulator on it, and it's just a wonderful album, because you've got things like Rob Calvert doing sort of poetry stuff in there. It just blows my mind. It really just blows my mind. 10 Seconds of Forever. Sonic Attack, the poetry that was sort of put over these like synthesizers going on in the background that was swirling around and stuff like that. But it's also got things like Master of the Universe and Shouldn't Do That, Upside Down, as I say, Argon Accumulator, which I just absolutely love. But when it just from the beginning of it, when it goes into Earth Calling and Born to Go and Down Through the Night and all that sort of stuff, and Black Corridor and Space is Deep, it's just like, and with Calvert's weird manic poetry over it, it just blows your mind. It's just an absolutely amazing live album.
And one of the things I think that's good about that is a bit like saying about the Hillage album about Live Heralds. Some of the excesses that you sometimes got in the live experience with Hawkwind were either reined in or edited out of that recording. Yeah. So certainly, there've been times at Hawkwind concerts where it's like, I've kind of got this now. I've had it for the last 10 or 15 minutes. Time for a change of something.
So I never felt that at all. It was like you could play the same riff for an hour, and I'd be just tripping away. I just loved it. Absolutely.
Well, there isn't that on that album on the Space Ritual. They don't have that. It's relatively concise in that regard. I think. Like the Hillage one, like Live Herald.
And I love the way that all the tracks just like bleed into each other. Sort of it finishes, and then you've got the synthesizers all going, and then Bob Calvert come in and do a little piece of poetry, and that just launches off into the next track. I just absolutely love it. It's really meant a lot to me,
and they were all getting on at the time as well.
Yeah, well as they could do. I guess.
That's relative. Yeah.
So what have you got for your next one, which is what? Is it number 6?
Number 6, right? So just outside top 5, and well, this is Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I'm not even going to ask you to guess which one it might be. So again, it's one of these fold-out ones. Talking about fold-out live albums, there's a Santana one called Lotus. I don't know if you've got that. It's a triple, just like Welcome Back, My Friends.
I have got that. Yeah,
it folds out even more than the albums we're talking about now. So you actually have to, you do need a big, large space to fold.
I've got this at number 3. So.
My number 6 meets your number 3.
Yes, I've got this at my number 3. So we'll talk about this now because. Do you want to start off with this? I mean, this again, you buy an album and love it. If you want to go and listen to it in the car, you get a bloody CD. And for some reason, I've got 2 CDs. One's 2 CDs and one's 1 CD. I don't understand why.
So Emerson's playing. I mean, they're all outstanding, of course, but Emerson, I think is outstanding on this. And how he keeps it up, if I can use that expression, is amazing. And the only thing that slightly gets me about this, of course, is they improvised a bit, which is great because that's what I like, and slightly different extended versions, and they got the ability to do that. but it does mean on this product, as opposed to probably the CDs that you've got, which I don't have for this. No, I don't think so. So Tarkus, it finishes side 2, and you then have to go on to the beginning of side 3, and then take a pebble, goes on, finish side 3, but then starts on side. And it's like, oh, dear me, it's a small gripe, but that's just.
It is a small gripe, and do you know how I got over this? Recording it onto cassette and mixing the two together.
Yeah, and I know some people do that, and I don't have the ability to do that. I just have to live with it, don't I?
That's all I did. I just stopped taping it, where it's sort of down, that bit, and I just cut it and put the next bit on, so it got into one thing. But yeah, I totally agree, mate. This is I say I've got it in my number 3. This is probably, I mean, this could have been number 1 at some point, it's so difficult, but no. What this meant for me, this was one of the, when I got into Emerson, Lake and Palmer, this is the album that I got sort of first. And so for me, this was what Emerson, Lake and Palmer are all about. I mean, and when you go, you think about it, you got Tarkus on there, which again got sort of split up on this album. So it was Tarkus at the end, and then you got like Take a Pebble and Carnival 9, and just all that, just fantastic tracks, played with real energy, played faster than the albums. Some of them are really quite quickly played, but just impeccably played. And I just love this photograph
where you can see Greg Lake on his carpet.
Yes, on his carpet, yeah. And to me, it was just like, just seeing this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be this. It was just fantastic. But sort of, you got as I say, Tarkus and Take a Pebble and Carnival 9 over 2 sides, just absolutely phenomenal album.
It is. It is at the edge of sort of like the overblown possible aspect of prog.
Totally overblown. I mean,
it's something. If someone's going to accuse fans of us and this music, etc., of being perhaps overblown or pretentious or whatever, then this is the one that perhaps can be held up as an Exhibit A. But some people don't like. I'm looking at the back of the album here, piano improvisations that Emerson does. I like them. I mean, I was a budding piano player at the time, and it's like, I can't do that. He can do that, So I didn't have a problem with it. And like Brain Salad Surgery, that was my go-to album. Really, that really got me into it. And so when you've got Jerusalem, you've got all 3 impressions, not movements, of Carnival 9. I
think it's one of the most the for the year. I think it was one of the most cleaner albums recorded.
Yeah,
the quality I think is really good, and I think it's arguably probably one of the most exciting live albums of the time as well. The live version with Tarkus, I think was probably the single greatest, most exciting live prog or rock music that I'd heard at that time. And when I got this, it was probably about 77, because I was buying a lot of stuff in 77. But I just, because you've got the, especially with Tarkus, and we've spoken about this before, when you've got Tarkus going through, and you've got the extended sort of Aqua Tarkus section that isn't on the album. You also got the inclusion of Epitaph, King Crimson's Epitaph, which Greg obviously sung originally, of course. And that isn't on the album. So my version of Tarkus in my head is always this version of Tarkus rather than the album version of Tarkus. So when you play the album version, it's a little bit more stilted and a little bit more quiet and a bit more, This is just really exciting. The version of Targus on this is just really exciting. It's fantastic, and it's got the Epitaph in it, which absolutely fits 100%. So love it. So we're on now 6.
No, I think it's your 6, because
my 6.
Yeah, your 6. Then we're on to our top 5.
Okay, right. Gong.
Okay.
And this live album of Gong.
Yeah,
which is Gong Live. I mean, it's a bit sort of
showing its age.
been in the wars a little bit because
Yeah.
it used to be taken around to a lot of places. But yeah, this live Gong album, Gong Live, you can't find it anymore. I mean, you know, it's really difficult to find this live album. But some of the stuff that's on here, I mean, it's got all the typical stuff. It was recorded sort of between 73 and 75, and I think it was released in 77, which is when I got it. And it's a set of live recordings, but there's some stuff from like BBC sessions. But the atmosphere on the album is just so absorbing. It was the Gong album that I used to put on in front of studio albums at the time. You know, it just had such energy and power. I just loved it so much, and that, you know, all the you know, the pictures of the live stuff on the twin albums and stuff like that was brilliant. David Allen with, you know, it's like, if you can see, there's like, you know, David Allen with his sort of wizard hat on and stuff like that, you know. And I just love the Gong imagery. It's just an absolutely amazing album. I'm sort of almost lost for words because it just meant so much to me when I was a kid, putting these albums on. You know, I think I told you in a past podcast that we used to have sort of Gong Sundays.
Yeah.
And you know, where everybody just wanted to chill out, you know, have a drink and stuff like that. And we used to put Gong albums on. We used to put the trilogy on. But if we didn't put the trilogy on, we'd be putting this on. This would be the album we'd be putting on and listening to this. It was just so good. But there's stuff from France, there's stuff from, you know, the Edinburgh Festival on there, BBC sessions, just like dragged out of all these different recordings and just put onto this one fantastic album.
How much of the Flying Teapot trilogy is on that?
There's quite a lot. I mean, there is quite a lot on there. You know, I mean, if I read out sort of, if record 2, on you know, the second album there, you got Radio Name, you got Oily Way, Out of Temple, Inner Temple, Isle of Everywhere, Master Builder, Flying Teapot.
Okay.
You know, it's Zero the Hero and the Witch Spell, you know.
Yeah.
So it's tons of it, you know. It's just like all the stuff I love from Gong is on this album. So that's one of my favourites. So what's your
number 5?
Number 6 now. Number 5. Oh, we're on the top 5s, are we?
I'm on top 5. Well, you only get one guess at which album this would be when I give you the band name.
Okay.
The band name is Yes.
Well, it's going to be Yes Songs, I guess.
It is.
Yeah, that's my number 2.
Well, I would have prepared to guess that there's going to be a couple of similarities in there.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so there's something about the time, because this is when I was getting into Yes. There's something about there's a lot about the artwork as well, because it just draws you in. Certainly as a young kid who's in getting into science fiction and stuff at the time. The production's perhaps a bit muddied in some places, but it's the greatest hits, isn't it? It's got it all, and it's got Wakeman's excerpts from Six Wives, which I actually like. Yeah, I like. So I say, as a budding keyboard player, I was trying to play all that stuff, and it's mostly it's when Alan White had joined, wasn't it? So Bruford's on some, and his ability to pick up this stuff, which isn't easy, was incredible as well. So I wasn't surprised to hear that you've got this in your top 5 as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about Alan White as being subpar to Bruford, and Bruford's an incredible drummer. I mean, just an incredible drummer, a very imaginative drummer as well.
Yeah,
and perfect for Close to the Edge and stuff like that. It was just like it wouldn't have been the same without him. But I think Alan White gets a real bum deal from some Yes fans. But everybody wants to be so bloody precious about this stuff, but it's just a rock and roll drummer. And when Alan White came in, especially to do this sort of thing, because Bruford's on some of this as well.
Yeah, he's on Perpetual Change, Long Distance Run Around, and The Fish.
Yeah. But when Alan White came in after Bruford left and learnt it in like a week and a half or something,
Yeah.
and then went out and did went out and toured.
Mm.
Don't dismiss Alan White. And his drumming is great. It's less sort of intricate and jazzy.
Yeah.
He's more of a rock drummer.
Mm.
But having said that, when you actually listen to things that he's played that Bruford has played in the past, and when we're talking about like lots of other live stuff as well, because there's a few other things I want to talk about with sort of Yes Live as well, because I could have chosen a few things here, but this album for me was if anything describes the perfect spirit of early 70s prog, Yes songs would probably be the thing you'd hold up. Yeah, the audio quality sucks a little bit, but like a lot of these things, when you listen to an album, if you especially live albums, you get used to the quality really, really quickly, so it's not as if it's so bad it's like the worst bootleg you've ever heard. It's just not quite as good as other albums or what it could have been. But the quality, once you actually get used to it, is absolutely fine. You turn it up a little bit and you put your headphones on and you're in the zone. You're in, yes. And I think it's a fantastic record of where they were. And I wouldn't want it to be any other way. It sounds like it sounds. It is what it is. But as you say, I mean, it's also that you've got your huge Roger Dean graphics all the way through it, which made it amazing as well. So Yes Songs was a massive album for me. Getting into Yes and sort of understanding that it isn't just albums; it's actually musicians who go and play this stuff. It's not the best recorded album in the world, but it's massively significant to me. Starting up with about sort of a minute of crowd noise, and then into the Firebird Suite. And that Firebird Suite stayed with them for a long, long time. That was the beginning of Yes shows.
Yeah.
But that was magical. And then in Rick's Mellotron and then Siberian Chartreuse, wonderful. It's a wonderful positive energy that comes off this album. An incredible, incredible musicianship, which just shines through. And it's an excellent live set as well.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things about, if you're not familiar with Yes and you see the very nice sort of artwork that Roger Dean did, and you have a view that you hear John Anson's voice and go, oh, it's all about goblins and pixies and keyboard players wearing capes and all the rest of it. But you put this album on and say, well, let's just start with the opening of it. Always a bit of classical music, but. And then Siberian Cat comes in, and that rocks that track. It's like, oh, I didn't know they did this sort of stuff. It's like, well, keep listening to the rest of the album, because there's quite a lot of it around.
It's very driven rock music. That's the thing I love about it. It's like there's quiet passages, there's extended solos and stuff like that, which I love in music anyway. But there's a lot of drive in the album. And all this stuff is all featuring off things like Close to the Edge and Fragile album, the Yes album, up to that point, and then they just bring this out. And also for the price of a single album as well. This is what people forget. When I bought this, it was cheap as chips. It was the price of a single album. I was getting 3 albums.
Your memory's better than mine. Yeah,
only on certain things.
Right, so that's my number 5. Did you say that was your number 2? Did you say
that was my number 2? I'm just looking at my list here. Yes, that was my number 2.
So what's your number 5 then?
My number 5. Just before we move on to that, there's a couple of other things that I just wanted to say. I'm not going to take too long on this, but Yes Live stuff. There are a few other things on here. Yes Shows was really good.
As well. That's one of my joint number 11s as well.
Yes Shows. But one thing that Keys to Ascension, I don't know if you've had a chance to have a listen to this.
This morning, that was in my top 10, and then I've been changing my mind so often. You may have done the too. So yeah, Keys to the
This-
Ascension 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I've got the double CD downstairs, and it was so exactly. It was so close to being in the top 10, and then it just dropped out.
Yeah, the thing is, I forgot about this really. When I was putting all this together, I completely forgot about it, and it wasn't until I thought I'll just have a little quick look through my CDs and sort of see if I can find anything that might usurp one of those albums. And I came across this, and I thought, blimey, I haven't heard this for years. And I thought I'd just stick it on to see what it was like. I put it on in the kitchen, and I started listening to it. The version of Awaken on this is phenomenal.
So if
And
anyone,
the weird thing about this, the weird thing about this whole package, what happened at the time, because this is when they got over there having other people in the band that didn't make much sense to me. I'm not a Trevor Rabin fan in Yes. I like Trevor Rabin outside of Yes, but Trevor Rabin, I just didn't really equate to me. Steve Howe is Yes. That's what makes the Yes. And when they sort of got over that, and they sort of came back together and sort of got back together with John Emerson in St. Louis Obispo, living in St. Louis Obispo, and they started recording some more music for a new album, which is there's a couple of tracks of it from on here.
Yeah, that is.
And part of the sort of deal was they have to do some hall in St. Louis Obispo. It's got 750 people. They put it up on their website. And it just got sold out, obviously, straight away. 750 people. Can you imagine going to a Yes gig with 750 people in St. Louis Obispo, California?
Yep.
So they put on 2 shows, and it filled out straight away. Put on another show, and that's what this is. This is in front of a small audience. After they've got back together after the hiatus from before.
Yep.
And as I say, the version of Awaken on this is awesome.
Yeah, I was just going to say pretty much the same point. It's essentially the same lineup as the S songs, because it's Alan White, certainly not Bill Bruford on it, and it was back mid-90s, I think, wasn't it? I think it came out
beginning of the 90s.
Yeah, but yes, it's what many people would regard as the classic lineup. Anson, Squire, Howe, Wakeman, and White.
It might be later than that, though. I can see 98 on here, but there's a ton of text on here, and I can't be bothered to go through it.
I can't read that.
But again, a fantastic album. So it could have been Yes songs, it could have been Peace of Ascension, it could have been Yes shows for me.
Yep, me too.
So where are we?
we were going to your number 5, I think.
Right, not my number 5. Let me just find my number 5.
Yeah, that's one of my joint number 11s as well.
Again, another album for me that I just wouldn't come off the turntable for a long, long time. This is Bursting Out by Jethro Tull. Another fantastic album, and this was an absolute pleasure to revisit this one. It just goes to show you what a band can do when they play live. It just some of the music on it. I mean, I don't know if you listened to this recently, but I listened to it again. I revisited all this stuff when we decided to do our top 10 live prog list.
Yep.
And I went back and I listened to all of these things, and if you're doing research on these sort of things, you might sort of stick a couple of tracks on. Oh yeah, it reminds me of it, and I remember how good it was, and you hear the thing, and you sort of, well, I've just played the whole bloody thing. You can tell they were like really seasoned at this point. Really seasoned at doing a live show, because it isn't just playing the tracks in front of an audience. This is performing those tracks and having little breaks in songs, and just performing it. The quality of the album, I think, is incredible. It's one of the ones that are later in the 70s that they really honed the sort of recording of gigs by that time. So it's 1978, this one, but it was recorded at sort of like different locations. I think they recorded in Europe and places like that, and introduced by Claude Nobbs. And when you listen to my radio show, that's where one of the very intro of my radio show is Claude Nobbs from this album. You know, it's a little snippet of Claude Nobbs. Right. This is just absolutely superb. But, you know, Claude Nobbs is a guy from the Montreux Festival.
Yeah, I was about to say, if anyone doesn't know who Claude Nobbs is, it's
Smoke on the Water, basically.
Yeah, he gets referenced, doesn't he?
Yeah, he gets a mention in that. But he's also on that Machine Head album, that Deep Purple Machine Head album. There's a picture of him in there because basically he was an ex-fireman and he saved loads of kids from that fire. He went back into the casino that was on fire, and he knew there was loads of kids from the show in there hiding, and so he was one of the guys that went in and dragged them out and got them out and saved their lives, and essentially.
Yeah.
So a bit of a bloody hero, you know. But he's the guy who introduces Jethro Tull on this album. You know, it's like sit back, relax, and enjoy an evening with Jethro Tull. It's fantastic.
Because one of the things that perhaps not everyone realizes is just how much of a live draw, a concert draw, Jethro Tull were. Huge, in the mid 70s. Now in the States, I mean, every time they got back from the States, they basically turned around and went back again. Yeah. So they were selling out all sorts of places, and there's quite a few recordings from Carnegie Hall and so on. But yeah, they were a massive draw in the States, selling loads. And there's a reason for that. I mean, there's a little bit of a British sort of like whimsy to it, you know, and some of the American audience trying to work out, you know, what some of the jargon was on Thick as a Brick, you know, weren't even sure what the title meant. But it's also because they could put on a bloody good show and they could rock out, man.
A stunning show.
Yeah. And that sometimes gets forgotten because people think, oh, Jethro Tull, that's one person, isn't it? And doesn't he wear a codpiece and stand on a leg and all that? And it's like, well, there's a bit more to it. And it's again just like I was saying about Yes Songs, which starts with Siberian Hatru. If you put this album on, a lot of people will be like, I didn't know they had a guitarist as well, apart from Aqualung, which people may have heard of. But it's rockier than people realise. You know, it's progressive rock, but you know the second word's important there as well.
Exactly, that's the thing. Because this is just after the Heavy Horses album, which I bought and I loved. I loved that. But it's so, you know, you've got things like No Lullaby in there, Skating Away is on there. It's a great live track. Jack and the Green and those sort of things. Also got that sort of flute solo improvisation. You know, you've got Rest Your Memory, Gentleman Borry, and which is just a great live performance from Ian Anderson. Just fantastic live performance from Ian Anderson. Yes, but it's also got stuff from Songs from the Wood. You know, Hunting Girls on there, Two Older Rock and Rolls, you know, Resurrected and Minstrel in the Gallery and things like that. Aqualung and Locomotive Breath is all on there as well. So it's a bit of a sort of best of hits, but it's performed. And I think this is the thing that live albums do more than anything else. Performances of tracks. It isn't about doing the track like it is on the album. It's like, there's the music, then let's go and perform it to an audience. Let's go and, you know, make it seem, I don't know, just better and better and better and more exciting and get people involved in it. Which again, Ian Anderson is a great front man for Tull. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So yeah, that was my what was that? That was my number 5.
I think, wasn't it? We probably should go to your number 4 because we've already done my number 4, which was Exit Stage.
Okay, my number 4. Now that is, and I was telling you before the podcast that there's one of these that I can't find my album, which is really annoying because I only played it like a year ago and I just can't find it anywhere. I've got the CD of it though, and this is Gentle Giant.
I knew you'd have that. Yeah,
it's part of the course, really.
I knew you would. Yeah.
This was huge for me at the time. when this came out, sort of released in 1977. 77, 76, 77, and 78 was my blossoming time. I was 16, 17, 18 years old.
Yep.
Absorbing all of this incredible progressive rock, going to see amazing bands every week. I mean, I had no idea how I afforded it, but we was either at Hammersmith Odeon or the Marquee, the Rainbow, which isn't even there now, Earl's Court, all those sort of things, and we go and see Hawkwind and Tull and all those sort of bands. Every week we was in going to see these guys. So playing the Fall, I've seen Gentle Giant a few times live. Have you ever heard this? Have you listened to this album at all?
No.
Right. It blows your socks off. Now, in a completely different way. Whereas you've got this album, Jethro Tull's live album, and you listen to that, and the atmosphere is electric. If you listen to, any of them, like Song Remains the Same from Zeppelin and things like that, it's like yeah, that sort of atmosphere. With this, you can tell that when they finish a track, the whole audience is going, how the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
That's what it's sort of like. It's a different sort of vibe on it. A little bit quieter. So it's not like because they're not that, Gentle Giant. They're not like an electric guitar rock band that,
No, not in that way. No.
But I've seen them live, and whenever whenever you go to a rock gig, you're sort of, cheering and, screaming for more and stuff like that, and headbanging a little bit, even to most of the prog stuff. I used to headbang quite a bit too. It's probably where I lost all my hair. But I remember going to see Gentle Giant, and this album, just when it came out, it just reminded me so much of the gigs I was watching at the time with Giant, where you would literally just go, how the hell did they do that? That was just mind-blowing. And if I just quickly I'll just run through the tracks on this, right? You've got things like On Reflection, The Runaway, Freehand, Just the Same, Proclamation.
Yeah.
Proclamation live. Freehand live. How do they do that? And so to me, this is one of those albums that when I look back, and I haven't listened to this for about a year. As I say, when I was looking for my vinyl version, which I must have lent to someone, but I put this on a couple of days ago and stuck it on quite loud. And if you put it on loud and listen to it, the quality is really, really good. But you've got this. It always amazes me how they could play such complicated music live so well and so effortlessly. Just didn't seem like it was a problem. But that's Gentle Giant. One of the most technical, I guess, technically competent prog bands of the 70s. But the musicianship just shines out of this recording. It's just excellent. There's versions of songs which are often they're greatly modified. They're not the same as the album versions, which is another reason why I love this album, because they're not just playing the songs. This is a performance. I mean, they've got excerpts of Octopus, which is absolutely phenomenal.
I was going to ask, have they got knots on? I'm not familiar with the album. Have they got knots on that album as well?
They may do some bits from it, but the thing that they got on this is this excerpts from Octopus, and it's Gary Green and Ray Shulman, just twin acoustic guitars. That then just goes into the advent of Penninger. Kerry Minier's keyboards, just that funky piano type keyboard, it just blows your mind. Highly recommended having a listen to this, Paul.
Well, if it's in your top 3, I should give it a go, shouldn't I? I'll give it a whirl.
I think that was my number 4.
I'll go on Discogs and see if I can get a vinyl version of it from somewhere.
It is just incredible. just incredible. So, so you're number 4.
Well, my number 4 was Exit Stage Left.
Okay, so you're number 3.
Yeah. I won't be cruel and ask you to guess which one. It's a Steve Hackett one. And it's one that's not as well known, I think, called the Tokyo Tapes.
Oh, right, okay.
So he's got John Wetton again, and he's got Ian McDonald, original Crimson. So you got some Crimson stuff on here. Talk to the Wind. You got some Hackett solo stuff, Shadow of the Hierophant. You got some Genesis stuff in That Quiet Earth, Watcher of the Skies, Firth of Fifth. It's got Caught the Crimson King. It's got Horizons. It's got a wonderful acoustic version of Heat of the Moment. So you'll remember the Asia version, which is all sort of bombast and everything.
Yeah.
Big hit. And this is just, just strumming away and just, quite a fragile version of it. So you got some different sort of, they mix it up a bit. And obviously, Hackett was never in Crimson. So you got their version of some of that Crimson stuff. And it's very well recorded. It's got Los Endos on it. So, yeah. And I've got loads and loads of Hackett live albums, and one of them was going to make it into this top 10. And this is my favourite of all of his. He has that thing on Firth of Fifth where just before that solo, we know which solo we're talking about. It just goes slightly off piste a bit, and it's kind of like I'm expecting John Thompson to suddenly go jazz club, nice. And I've always struggled a bit with that, but then I have to give myself a good talking to. I sit myself down and go, well, one, it's his song as much as anything, and and it is about mix it up a bit and open your mind to this stuff, get a grip. But otherwise some very faithful renditions. Musicianship, of course, is superb. It's got some heavy stuff on it like the Steps, and so. Hackett's Tokyo Tapes.
I didn't expect that to be in your top 5, to be honest.
Right.
I mean, I've got this CD, and it is a really cracking CD.
Yeah.
And things. I mean, Horizons is really nice on this, but in That Quiet Earth is on that as well. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And a great rendition of it. And I love that time of Genesis. The Wind and Wuthering time of Genesis, I think, was probably some of the best stuff they'd ever done. Not because it's very difficult when you talk about Genesis, because at any other time I would say Selling in England by the Pound is the best album they've ever done. And then you talk to me another time and I go, Trespass, I just love Trespass because I've just listened to it and it's just blown my mind again. Every single Genesis album in the 70s anyway, just everything was just bloody brilliant. But Wind and Wuthering, when you listen to that again, it's just a fantastic album. And the contribution that Hackett put to Wind and Wuthering is just so underrated. Incredible. And I remember listening to this, and it's got a really good atmosphere on this album as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Julian Colbeck is on it, because Julian Colbeck, for a long time before Roger King, who's been with Hackett for a very long time, so Colbeck's on it with Chester Thompson.
That's right. Chester Thompson is. You can tell Chester Thompson's on this album.
Yeah.
Because the drumming is just really, really amazingly good.
Yeah. So people aren't aware, Chester Thompson was with Weather Report for a while, wasn't he? He was with Zappa for a while as well.
Yep.
I was so close to having a Zappa live album on this top 10. I'll tell you, there's so many good Zappa live albums.
Yeah.
And Julian Colbeck, I think, was with Zappa for a while as well. But it's great. Ian McDonald's back, and because John Wetton's singing the songs, and he didn't sing many of these, when they came out first time round, that just adds a slightly different flavour to it, different colour to the songs as well. So so that's my number 3, my Hackett's live album.
Cool. Well, I've done my number 3, which is Welcome Back, My Friends, to the Show That Never Ends, ladies and gentlemen, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I've done that one.
What's your number 2?
So my number 2. I've done my number 2 as well. Yes.
You've done your number 2, so I'll do my number 2.
You do your number 2.
Because it's possible our number 1 is the same.
Very possible. Well, if you haven't done it by now, it's going to be the same number 1.
My number 2 isn't going to be your number 1. I'm prepared to bet. So my number 2, I may be guilty for you, but I'm gone back to King Crimson, and it's The Great Deceiver, which is a double,
Right.
2 double CDs. And again, this is back to the 74 era. So am I guilty of anything here? Well, the improvs, again, are different. And again, you've got an incredible musicianship. They got some stuff here from 73 as well. And they got some incredible versions of songs like Starless, which I believe you like as well.
I love Starless. I think Starless is a great track.
And they got Fracture on it, which you mentioned as well.
I love Fracture as well.
Lark's Tongues, which we've talked about, one of the best ways to ever start a prog album, in my opinion. So it's very much kind of what I was saying about that lineup before. But there's just, it's the same but different, because that was the thing about Crimson, about Fripp's sort of somewhat gnomic utterances at times. King Crimson music is whatever gets played that night. There is no genre, if you like, for King Crimson. And so, these versions, they sound different because they are different, and you're listening to them going, well, that's different lyrics. Well, yeah, but as far as Fripp's concerned, that note you play is the right note for that moment in time. And they got some other ones in here which are kind of well known by Crimhead, Dr. Diamond and stuff like that, which appear on other live official bootlegs and so on. So that's my number 2, a double
dose.
Exactly, because I'm strongly suspecting we have the same number 1.
Well, should we get to number 1 then?
Should we do 3, 2, 1 and pass it in front of the camera?
It'd be really embarrassing if this isn't the same fucking album. Let me get out the right way. You ready?
Yeah, there we go. I knew it would be.
Seconds Out, Genesis. Seconds Out, Genesis.
Yeah.
Again, I guess it's of the time as well. Me and you were sort of getting in. We was listening to the same sort of stuff at the same sort of time. So there's obviously a reason why all this stuff comes together, and why this album means so much to both of us. This was my Genesis. I was in too late on Peter Gabriel. I saw Gabriel live with them at Six of the Best, which was incredible. We've spoken about this before, and me crying all the way through Suppers Ready. But anyway, this was the summation of every Genesis gig that I'd ever been to. It just had just loads and loads of tracks on it that I just thought were something like the best stuff they'd ever done.
Yep.
I saw them at the Rainbow in '77, which was sort of early on in the year, and I saw them again at Earl's Court later on in the year. And the Earl's Court one, I was actually speaking to a mate of mine, Mal, the other day when we went to see Steve Hackett in Aylesbury. And when we was in the pub beforehand, we was talking about going to see Genesis back in the '70s, late '70s. And he went to Earl's Court the day before I did. Now, the day before I did, they did a radio show, Genesis Live at Earl's Court, with Nicky Horn. It was Nicky Horn on Capital Radio, which I recorded. I taped. I've got the cassette still. I can't play it because I haven't got a cassette player, but I've still got that. I've got it on. I've got the digital version of it as well. But I remember sitting at home and listening to that because I was going the night after. And so the show that was actually recorded on the radio, my mate Mal Smith went to. And so this was the time we was going to see them. And to me, it is just huge. As I say, I saw them at the Rainbow in the January, and I think it was in the summer, or beginning of the summer, at Earl's Court. Almost all the songs on the album were recorded during that Wind and Wuthering tour, that '77 Wind and Wuthering tour, which I went to. Yeah,
I think apart from was it Cinema Show, which was off the Trick of the Tail tour, I think, because that's.
I think that came off. Yeah, Cinema Show was.
Rufus on that one, isn't he? But otherwise,
Rufus on that. Yeah, I'm sure Rufus on there. I mean, it also gets a bit muddy, after all these years. But yeah, I mean, I've seen them with Chester Thompson. I never saw them with Bruford. So.
So I agree, and the only if this could be even better, which would be hard, because this was a Wind and Wuthering tour. They've got Afterglow on, which I think is a great rendition of it. I mean, it's really powerful. I think it's pretty good off the album, but it's just much more powerful on this. I would have swapped out Robbery and Salt and Battery for One for the Vine. If I had editing rights on this. But one of the things about this, so there are some people out there that don't necessarily like this stuff, and quite often because they haven't actually listened to it. And certainly there's some friends from the village. We were on a car journey, and I was driving, so I had rights to what was on the in-car stereo, and I just played side 4 of this, which is Cinema Show, Dance on the Volcano, Los Endos.
Yeah,
and it was like, what do you think of that then? And it was like, that's actually pretty good, isn't it? It's like, but don't tell anyone. Okay, all right. So the energy around that, the drumming is superb. Cinema Show, Banks' solo on that is fantastic. But Supper's Ready, for me, and it's maybe heresy, but I probably slightly prefer this version of Supper's Ready.
It's very difficult, isn't it, with the voice of Phil Collins and the voice of Peter Gabriel. You feel like you should like the Gabriel version more, which I do. Personally, I do. If I go to listen to this one, right, I absolutely love it. I think Collins does an excellent job. He sounds absolutely fantastic on it, and I would not fault it in one way ever. And then you go and listen to Foxtrot, and you just go, maybe it is just it is. Peter Gabriel is better at this, and then you go and listen to this again, and then you think, I don't know. I mean, it's very difficult because they're both incredibly good singers. They're both perfect for Genesis. Because all those old albums, you heard Phil Collins singing, second lines. He used to back up the vocals.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so you got used to that voice in there anyway, even if you didn't realise it, even if it was, Peter Gabriel's voice at the front and Phil Collins' voice behind it. But right at the beginning of the Supper's Ready, you've got Phil Collins singing all of that. So it is just, to me, one of the most incredible albums. But I've got loads of these sort of, I've got Genesis bootlegs and
quite a few of them.
Stuff on Three Sides Live is good. The old Genesis live albums, brilliant. It's such a difficult choice to put in what could have been in there. I think if I'd put 2 albums from the same band, I think I would have definitely put this in, because when I was 15 years old, I got this given to me, and it was the point when I was just like really getting into progressive rock. I didn't really understand exactly who Genesis were, but I listened to this, and
it's people can briefly say it there. It's got the bat wings, Gabriel and his bat wings. And you've got that story on the back, haven't you, about about a lady on the tube, and as that
unzips herself.
Exactly. It's like, wow. This is this is different to the Glenn Miller album I was looking at the other day with my dad. So Seconds Out. I wasn't surprised. Number 1 for us, both of us.
But there's great versions of the Gabriel era songs in there, together with that, obviously the new material from Dance on Volcano, Afterglow, Rubber Suit and Battery. I mean, I like Rubber Suit and Battery. I'd like that Squonk as well when it starts with Squonk. But massively important to me, this album.
But the track listing, I think, is great as well. Finishing side 1 with Afterglow when Collins is really going for it. Finishing side 2 with Musical Box when he's really going for it. Just a closing section. Supper's Ready. Apocalypse and 9/8 going to the end of that, and then finish on the high with Los Endos. Really well crafted.
Which they, probably still do. Even though I didn't go and see them last time out.
No.
Couldn't really be bothered with that. But no, I mean, I think this is, I'm just trying to sort of see any honourable mention albums that I've got sticking out here that I want to talk about. But this Seconds Out album, I think is head and shoulders above everything, not because it's just the best album, best live progressive rock album, which I think it actually is. In fact, there was something that there was like I can remember seeing something back in the day, and I'm just trying to think what it actually said, but it said something like, the best live rock album from the best live rock band or something. It was like promoted.
Oh yeah, that was a promotional blurb for it when it came out.
It was. I'm not making it up, am I?
No,
I remember seeing like posters and stuff. Yeah.
As I recall, that was the Charisma promotional blurb at the time. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, something like the best live band in the world, the best live album. I can't remember. So it was something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so absolutely fantastic album. Number one for both of us, and properly well deserved. Now, honourable mentions. Have you got any honourable mentions that you want to go through?
Well, I've been mentioning them as we go through. I said there's a whole bunch of Zappa ones. So Broadway the Hard Way, or Just You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore. There's a series of 6 double CDs, which are all pretty good, including the famous Helsinki tapes one. A bunch of others that I had you've mentioned. So Tull's Bursting Out, and so on. So there's some other Tull ones that I was thinking as well. There's A Little Light Music, isn't there? That was quite a good one, I thought, because he mixes up the songs quite a bit, so they're slightly different, which is always interesting. Keys to Ascension was definitely one that I thought, because that is a great song, which is on there as well, which, if you think of Yes, you tend to think of Starship Trooper or Close to the Edge or And You and I, and that's a beautiful song as well, and as you said, a very intimate surrounding. So yeah, there's a few out there, but my guess is, could be proved wrong on this, but my guess is that most fans of progressive rock, if you were to say what your top 10, I think most of them would have that trinity of Seconds Out, Yes songs, and Welcome Back My Friends in the top 10 somewhere. At my suspicion. Yeah,
definitely. And so just to run down, do you want to just run down your top 10 before we go into honourable mentions, and then I'll run down mine?
Well, I've done my honourable mentions. So what was it? Number 10 for me was Marillion, the early stages. Number 9 was Different Stages by Rush. Number 8 was Hillage's Live Herald. Number 7 was the first of King Crimson's official live bootlegs, Collectors Club. Number 6 was Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Welcome Back My Friends. Then it was Yes songs. Then number 4 was Exit Stage Left. Number 3 was Hackett's Tokyo Tapes. Number 2 was Crimson's Great Deceiver. And then number 1, the famous Seconds Out.
Cool. My top 10 was, number 10 was Two for the Show by Kansas. Number 9 was All the World's a Stage by Rush. No, Exit Stage Left by Rush.
Yep.
Live at Pompeii was number 8 by Pink Floyd. Space Ritual, Hawkwind was number 7. Gong Live, etc. by Gong was number 6. Bursting Out, Jethro Tull was number 5. Play in the Fall, Gentle Giant. Brilliant live album, by the way. If you ever get a chance to listen to that, it's fantastic. Number 3, Welcome Back My Friends, ELP. Number 2, Yes Songs by Yes. And number 1, Seconds Out by Genesis. I've got a couple of honourable mentions, which I'm not going to go into too much, but I'll just kick a few in. There's this one, which is, you can't really see that in the light. I'm trying to do that. This is Vital.
Photograph Generator. Yeah, sure. Good call.
Mind bloody blowing.
Yeah, good call.
Live album, this. And the sort of time that I was seeing them, sort of late 70s, just a fantastic, a very guttural album. Almost punk in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's getting very much towards that. I've got a live album here that probably won't know too much.
12th Night, yes. I don't know that one though.
This is the first thing they came out with. 12th Night live at the Target. It's all signed as well. Okay. This one,
right?
This is one of those albums that they were never very well known. 12th Night, but they come out with some great stuff. This is all instrumentals. There's only 4 tracks on here. yeah, 4 tracks. They're very, very, very early stuff. And this was done, I believe this was recorded at the Target, which was sort of near Harrow,
Right.
which is like a pub. It was just recorded in a pub. And I've had that for years, and I think that's a fantastic one. Camel.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is not great on it, but the music is brilliant. That's why I didn't get in the top 10, because it's not a very atmospheric live album. It's very sort of appreciative live album. And the last one is Amon Dull 2, live in London.
Yeah.
This was really big for me again back in the day. I used to have the album of it. I don't have it anymore. That was one that's gone into someone else's collection, but I got the CD. I've bought the CD sometime later. But just a great album if you like Amon Dull and all those sort of things. Because, you know, if you like Hawkwind and Gong and all that sort of hippie trippy stuff, then Amon Dull was always one that was sort of on the cards that you're going to get into at some sort of point. So yeah, that's our top 10 with a few honorable mentions. If you have if you've got a top 10 of yourselves, you know, your own ones, then bung down. If you think that we've got it completely wrong, then let us know. But yeah, just let us know which albums that you would have put in your top 10 and which ones you would have probably pulled out of ours, which would be good. So don't forget to subscribe. Anything else, Paul, before we leave?
No, I'm good. That was really good fun. That was great fun.
That was great. And do you know what? One of the things that I loved about doing this podcast was it sort of made you go back and have a re-listen to some of these albums and realizing that some of them are just absolutely amazing. And things like this one, this you know, a live record by Camel, I remember it as being much better. And when I listened back to it, I'm thinking it's not as good as I thought it was, but I still really like the music. I think the music was brilliant on it, but yeah, the atmosphere just isn't on there as much as it should be. And I haven't listened to this for donkeys, you know. So that was a real pleasure to go back and listen to that one as well. But yeah, great show. I really enjoyed that. Thanks, Paul, for indulging. I'm getting indulged
and being indulged. Yes, absolutely.
Being indulged, but no, it was fantastic. Listen, we're going to be doing some more sort of top 10s and things like that. So keep watching. But we'll see you next time. See you later.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on the ProgAxia podcast. Don't forget to like this video and also to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us. We'll see you next time.